Anna had always felt uneasy around mirrors, though she could never explain why. Even as a child, she avoided looking into them for too long, because she often thought the reflection lingered just a second longer than she did, or that her smile in the glass bent differently than the one on her face. But she grew older, dismissed these fears, and lived her life as a quiet woman in her late 20s who worked at a bookstore in town and rented a small apartment above an antique shop. The kind of place that smelled of old wood and dust, with creaking floors and drafty windows that whistled when the wind picked up. And the largest mirror she owned stood in her bedroom, a tall, slightly tarnished piece with a gilt frame that had been left behind by the previous tenant. And though she never liked it, she never moved it either, because something about it felt heavy, as though it were anchored to the floor. Or maybe to her. It began on a rainy night when the thunder rattled her window panes and the bookstore had closed early, leaving her with hours to herself. She made tea, curled up with a book, and tried to ignore the way the mirror caught the glow of her lamp in its warped surface. But when she went to bed, she swore she saw her reflection blink after she had already closed her eyes. The sight jolted her upright, her heart thudding. But when she looked again, it was just her, pale and tired, staring back. She laughed nervously, told herself she was only exhausted, and pulled the blanket over her head. Days passed uneventfully until one morning when Anna stood before the mirror brushing her hair. She froze as the reflection's hand stopped a beat late, dragging the brush through hair that did not fall quite the same way. Her reflection's eyes glimmered darkly, as though the glass were filled with water and her face was trapped beneath the surface. But Anna blinked hard and the image corrected itself. Yet from that moment she began to dread entering her bedroom at night, and she started avoiding the mirror by keeping her eyes low or turning off the light quickly. But it was impossible to forget the wrongness she had seen. One evening, her friend Clara came over for wine, and as they chatted, Clara excused herself to use the bathroom, but on her way back, she paused in Anna's room. Anna noticed and asked what was wrong, and Clara laughed nervously, saying she had just seen the strangest thing, that for a split second she thought Anna was standing in her room staring back at her from the mirror. Even though Anna was in the kitchen at the time, Anna tried to shrug it off, but her hands trembled on her glass of wine. Because hearing it from someone else made it real, no longer a trick of her own tired mind. The nights grew heavier, filled with a creeping dread. Sometimes Anna would wake to find the mirror humming faintly, as if it carried a vibration inside the glass. Other times she thought she heard whispering, like two voices layered on top of one another, low and distorted. She told herself it was the building settling or the wind, but deep inside she knew it came from that mirror. She draped a sheet over it, but the next morning it had slipped to the floor, and her reflection smiled faintly as she looked at it in horror, though she had not been smiling herself. One stormy night, Anna finally snapped. She grabbed a hammer from under the sink, stormed into her bedroom, and swung at the mirror with all her strength, but the hammer bounced off with a dull thud, leaving the glass unbroken, not even a crack. Instead, the reflection in the mirror tilted its head and grinned wider. While Anna stood frozen, the hammer slipping from her hand, she stumbled back, whispering no over and over, her pulse roaring in her ears, and she fled into the living room where she slept on the couch with every light on. The next morning, she resolved to move out. She packed hurriedly, shoving clothes into bags, boxing up her books. But when she tried to drag the mirror toward the door, intending to leave it behind, it would not budge, as though it were bolted to the floorboards. She even called her landlord, an older man named Mr. Harrow, and asked about the mirror. He told her in a strangely flat tone that the mirror had always been part of the apartment, that tenants were not allowed to move it, that it belonged to the building itself, and when she pressed him, asking why, he simply said she would understand soon enough and hung up, leaving her shaking with anger and fear. That night, Anna dreamed of drowning, of pressing her hands against cold glass as water rose above her head. On the other side, her reflection pressed back, smiling. And when she jolted awake, gasping for air, she found herself standing in front of the mirror, her hands flat against its surface, though she had no memory of leaving her bed. Her nails scraped the glass, but it felt warm to the touch, pulsing faintly like skin. She staggered back, screaming, tears streaking down her face. She stopped going to work, stopped answering Clara's calls, stopped eating much at all. Every hour of every day, she felt the weight of the mirror pulling at her. Until one evening, she saw her reflection move independently again, this time stepping closer to the glass while Anna stood frozen. The double leaned in, its lips parting, though no sound came, and Anna whispered, "Please stop! Please stop!" But the figure only mimicked her pleas with a cruel, mocking twist, then raised its hand and dragged its nails down the inside of the glass, leaving faint white streaks. And Anna ran from the room sobbing, slamming the door shut behind her. For days, she avoided the bedroom entirely, sleeping on the couch. But the whispering grew louder, now spilling through the walls. Threads of her own voice repeating her thoughts before she even spoke them. She would hear herself calling her name in the dark. And one evening while walking past the bedroom door, she glimpsed movement inside. Though she had locked it, the reflection was pacing like a caged animal, glancing toward the door as if waiting for her to return. On the final night, Anna decided she had to end it no matter what. She carried the hammer again, her hands trembling, and stormed into the room ready to smash the glass until it shattered. But the reflection was waiting, smiling wider than ever, its eyes black pits. And as she raised the hammer, it spoke with her own voice, layered with something deeper, saying finally, and the lights flickered. The air turned icy, and the mirror rippled like water. Anna stumbled backward, but it was too late. Her reflection reached through the surface, its hand cold and slick, and it grabbed her wrist, pulling her toward the glass. She screamed, kicking and clawing, but her strength failed. She felt herself sliding into the mirror, the world distorting around her as though she were being swallowed whole. And her last sight before the darkness closed was her reflection standing outside in her place, smoothing her hair, smiling at the world. Clara came by 2 days later when Anna stopped answering her phone. She knocked, got no response, and eventually let herself in with the spare key Anna had given her. The apartment was quiet and still, the couch rumpled as though Anna had slept there. Bags half-packed scattered across the floor. But when Clara entered the bedroom, her stomach dropped. Anna was there standing before the mirror, pale but calm. She turned and smiled softly, saying everything was fine now, that she had just been tired. Clara tried to believe her, but something in Anna's eyes was wrong. Too dark, too steady, as if they belonged to someone else. And when Clara glanced at the mirror behind her, she swore she saw another Anna inside, pounding soundlessly against the glass, her mouth wide in a scream that would never be heard.